Hey everybody, my name is Jesse Collins, and I am the host of the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, a show right here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. On the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, we take a deep look at individual issues and stories that are going on in the wrestling world. Each episode is about a different topic, and we take a thorough and educated look at things ranging from current booking trends to breakdowns on individual performers and angles to investigations into different fan cultures across the industry. In addition, we keep a close eye on the wrestling media, and as a professional journalist, I bring a unique perspective to how current issues in wrestling are being covered and discussed through the wrestling media. We have a revolving series of guests from across wrestling punditry joining us on each episode, and we hope that you make the choice to give us a listen on wherever you get your podcast from.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A-game. Ain't made no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This isn't A-game, better bring your A-game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A-game. Ain't made no rain from the track.
Hey now, it's the Mike and JD Show, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm joined as always by JD, by God, Oliva. How you doing, JD?
Solid, man. Had a decent day today. I taught a clinic this morning at a jiu-jitsu gym, so I was teaching like upper body wrestling stuff that can translate to jiu-jitsu. Had a bunch of kids there, which is always cool. And then my kid and I went and worked on his goalie skills for soccer. That's always fun.
Nice.
He's playing goal. He's the second year playing goalie coming up. He's getting pretty good at it, actually. And then we just hung out, just the two of us. We went to lunch, and I was busy all week. Our high school hosted Badminton State, and we do a bunch of video stuff for that. I should post stuff on my Facebook page because it came out great. I was really, really proud of my poverty level high school that I teach at, because we teach in a college town and a lot of poor kids, and like the fact that we and I say this with like all the humbleness in my heart that we have one of the best video production programs in the country at this reasonably sized public school in the middle of Illinois. That to do the stuff we do makes me really proud. So I had a super busy weekend. I just not get to chill and talk to one of my best friends. So I'm having a good day. How about you, man?
I too am having a good day. I started an outside project at the house. I'm trying to build a place to put my trash cans because I'm sick of having my trash cans in the garage. So I'm like, and like the side of my house has a slope. So I'm like digging into the slope to flatten it out, and I'm going to put pavers down and build a wall. That way I can hide it. That way the HOA police doesn't get after me for this thing. So, but I did that for hours today, broke a good sweat, and then I ate a ton of food and sweets to fucking ruin my sweat. Nice. And then we went and chilled at the HOA pool. So first time at the pool, so that was cool. Had a lot of fun there. The boy is walking this year for the pool, so nice. He was a little crazy, but he had a good time. So that kid has no sense of self-preservation, by the way. He'll just
little kids don't care.
Yeah, can't swim a lick. He'll just go right in head first, no problem.
Little kids don't care. They don't get that sense of mortality till about 7 or 8, and they start questioning decisions, and then it's downhill from there. But you're at the best times right now. I remember talking about your garbage cans. When I was growing up, my dad, who grew up in Chicago, had this aversity to garbage cans, right? So I remember being a young kid, like probably 2nd, 3rd grade, we would keep our trash bags in the garage on the floor, which I didn't think anything of until one time I went to throw out some garbage, and there were maggots all over everything in my garage. And I remember it was a big fight with my parents that my dad finally had to buy trash cans. So now you get maggots, which a lot of people, it's pretty common. Summertime, you get maggots. It was much easier to control them in the can. And as I'm older, I realized, oh my God, I grew up white trash.
Yeah. So we didn't have garbage cans, but we would. My dad had an El Camino, which I absolutely love El Caminos, by the way. I think they're the fucking coolest cars.
Our trucks, for people who might not know what an El Camino was.
Yeah. It's like half car, half truck. super trailer parky. But we would take like our trash bags to the dumpster behind the grocery store, just like instead of paying for trash. You
That's
know,
No, my
yeah.
dad was too lazy to do that. We just threw them in the garage floor. And then we would
Yeah.
have, it was always, I remember one time I opened up the garage and there was a fucking possum sitting on top of my bike. Like,
Yeah, that's happened to me before. Like because we used to, our cat used to be like a neighborhood cat because he gets like super crazy at night. So what we would do is we would just leave the garage door kind of like cracked, like the bottom garage door, so he can kind of just get in and out. And then one day I went to go. This was actually in California. One day I went to go throw some trash out into the trash cans in the garage, and sure enough, there was a raccoon in my garage, like 2 or 3 of them, and they were trying to get into the trash. So yeah,
That's-
yeah, but so here it's not, the humidity is way worse than any other place I've ever been to as far as like living wise, because it's South Carolina. Like Hawaii was pretty bad. We'd get maggots there, but we had an outdoor area for our trash cans. But here they want you to keep it inside your garage. But now we have this dog who shits a lot. So I have like the dog shit in my trash can. Also, that's where my gym's at. I like to work out there. So I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna fucking build this thing. We're gonna do it, man. So
it's a good call because you don't want to be lifting weights or working out and trying to, take deep breaths and you're inhaling shit. Like
shit. Yeah.
Gross.
Maggots and old food and
Mhm.
yeah. But so man, I gotta say this was the first time in a long time that I actually sat down and watched a MMA show this past weekend. I was fully invested in an actual mixed martial arts show.
Speaking of maggots,
Speaking of maggots and shit and inhaling shit. No.
that was good. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But I've been out on UFC for a long time. Not
yeah,
like
so
that I have.
so are most people though.
Yeah. Well, I grew tired of it, man. There's just they have a show every single weekend. It's like Monday Night Raw. It's every single weekend. They had to sign a bunch of new fighters. I couldn't like remember their names.
Nobody's over.
They got a bunch of titles. Like not only do they have like the regular weight classes, but they have interim championships for those weight classes. Because if like a fighter can't go for a certain pay-per-view, they just create a new title and they fight for an interim champion. So now they have interim champions for all those divisions. And all my favorites were leaving, and like including Ronda Rousey actually. And so I just kind of like I grew tired of the UFC, and they killed all their competition. Like it really sucked when Strikeforce and Bellator kind of went away. PFL hasn't really had a like it's essentially a money laundering. It's a money laundering scam. They've been on ESPN for years, and they've never made any money, which is weird. So like they go around just kind of like raising funds from all these hedge fund people and over like Saudi Arabia and Qatar and all these like Middle Eastern countries that are kind of like pumping money into it, and they have not ever they've never sold a ticket or a pay-per-view yet. they're getting all this money. So I was really interested to see how this new like Jake Paul led MVP MMA on Netflix with Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano headlining. I was really curious to see how this is going to work.
In a shocking move, Dana White announced that Conor McGregor is coming back to UFC this weekend. Yeah. What a coincidence!
Yeah, it was during the Francis Ngannou walkout, but he is not worried one bit about Jake Paul's promotion. Say what you want about Jake Paul, but the guy got himself over, and he found some people with money, man, especially Netflix, and he's putting on big shows.
So you can criticize Jake Paul as a boxer, but I don't think you can criticize him for his fight promotion skills, man.
Yeah.
This dude, he knows how to promote some fights.
Yeah, he does. So I mean, him and his brother know how to get themselves over. They are big into the the Paul brand. They're very good at that. That's what they're excellent at, the Paul brand.
They've successfully built a brand around a lot of things, and they moved in because they're YouTube guys, but they've actually moved into the fighting game, like with Logan. That was a little rivalry too, because now Jake Paul is not allowed on any TKO programming.
That's pretty funny. Well, so Jake Paul, his like manager or his accountant or whatever the guy is, used to work for the UFC and has a real axe to grind. And the way you get under Dana White's skin is talk about fighter pay. and saying that fighters should be paid what they're worth.
Uh-huh.
And then what makes them even more mad is that you sign some of their older fighters and pay them more money than they ever made in the UFC. Like that really fucking pisses them off.
Well, gosh, who does that sound like? I've heard this. I've heard this move before.
Yeah. It sounds like the other creepy fucker, Vince McMahon.
It's not just it's Ari now too. That's the other side of TKO.
Yeah.
It was the same thing.
Yeah.
They get all butthurt when AEW is paying people. Now they're trying to. It's so weird. Like we talked about you talked earlier about the Middle Eastern countries pumping money into things, and we have speculated on this show that might be coming, not to an end, but slowing down a bit with the end of Live Golf and stuff like that, because this whole little like war thing going on in the Middle East, which is fucking up my life actually now. So
yeah. Well, and that's, not to get political, but that's going to pick up again this week. Like,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like that's starting up again this week. But not that I have inside knowledge. let's just say I know. Like, let's just say I have a pretty good idea that's picking up this week.
I don't think one need have inside knowledge into the military to read the tea leaves of what's coming. It's not good.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was some fights on this card. Now I watched. I don't dislike MMA, but I dislike spending lots of money. So I typically don't indulge in UFC unless there's a really big fight that I want to see. So there's no stars in UFC right now. Like if Sean Strickland's your biggest star, I'm just not interested. Not a bad fighter. I just don't find him to be that captivating of a fighter person.
No, he's trying to work a MAGA heel.
We've seen
it. Like
Colby Covington did it better.
Yeah, and Colby Covington wasn't that good at it either. I thought everybody's trying to like live off of Chael Sonnen, and that was like his deal. And Chael Sonnen actually had a rap.
Dick, yeah, and he was a great talker.
Yeah, he's very clever, and on top of it, he's a good human being. Like people genuinely liked Chael Sonnen. Yeah, I know it's a work.
Chael's not a bad guy, but we're supposed to think he is.
Yeah, there's actually a fighter. I can't remember his name, but Chael was so good to him, despite the fact that all he was saying in public, he was so good to him. He ended up naming his son after Chael, like because like Chael like took care of him and like helped him out financially and did all kinds of stuff because he's actually like a good dude. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I can't help him. Every time Chael Sonnen's name comes up, I get sad because he was an All-American for the University of Oregon. In the University of Oregon, about 18, 19 years ago now, I'm losing track of the years, dropped their wrestling program to Phil Knight wanted to pump more money into baseball. So wrestling got on the chopping block there. So fuck Nike. Fuck Oregon. But continue.
Yeah. Yeah, from the gangster from Westland, Oregon, one of the great MMA promos of all time. I think that if he wanted to be a pro wrestler, I think he could have done
great
it.
At it.
I think he would have been great at it. He just never decided to do it.
Didn't have to.
No. But yeah, so UFC just doesn't really have any stars, and so one of the big stars they had, one of the biggest that they ever had was Ronda Rousey, and she left after 2 consecutive knockouts. She was gone for 7-8 years, like that kind of time frame. She ended up going to the WWE for a while. It worked out good for a little bit, and then her second run in WWE didn't go so well, but the first run was pretty good. But she is probably one of the main reasons why you have women headlining big shows in the WWE for sure. Yeah. I think, I mean, like, I don't think that they get there without her. Oh. And she was a big reason why, Charlotte and Becky got as over as they did, is because they were in there with Ronda Rousey, right? I mean, like, she proved that women could draw at a high level.
Ronda Rousey is the most important draw in women's sports history. Like, you have people now, like, she's a trailblazer. You're going to see, like, you have your Caitlin Clarks and stuff like that now that are stars, marketable stars, because Ronda Rousey proved that a woman could be a marketable star in the sports world. And she did it in MMA, because remember, Dana was kicking and screaming. Remember, he was like, it's barbaric to have women fighting in pro sports. And Ronda made her, I believe, Strikeforce, right? Ronda made her
Strikeforce.
Strikeforce. Yeah. She became a star, a legit draw in Strikeforce, which helped to take over that. And then she moved over to UFC. The thing with Ronda, now here's the thing with Ronda Rousey as a fighter. She was an elite. When I say elite, I mean like a world-class judoka. Yeah, like she's literally, her and Kayla Harrison are literally 2 of the best women judokas in the history of the United States. Right?
Ronda was 2004 Olympics bronze medalist. Kayla Harrison gold medalist, right?
Mm-hmm. These are like, and we don't have the U.S. history in judo is not fantastic. Like this is not a country that develops great judo. I say this as a judoka myself. Like we don't develop great judo players. We just don't. Like so, Ronda came into MMA at a time when women's MMA was literally burgeoning, and she was absolutely mauling people with judo. Like I don't want to say rudimentary judo, but like a lot of her fights were just a hip toss, right? Number one throw in judo. Like when I say number one, the first throw they teach you, hip toss, and then a Jujikatami, an armbar. Those were so many of her fights, and she was slaughtering people for a long time until Greg Jackson cracked the code with Holly Holm and figured out how to beat her. You kick her, keep distance. You don't let her tie you up.
Yes. And then she came back and ran into a buzzsaw named Amanda Nunes, who is by far the greatest woman fighter in the history of the UFC, like 2-division champion.
Yes.
Yeah. But Ronda Rousey was so dominant. She was like the Mike Tyson of women. She had a finishing move, and it was like you said, the Jujikatami, the arm bar. Like everybody knew it was coming, but nobody could put a stop to it. So
that's the thing about a Jujikatami is that like everybody knows an arm bar, but they're really hard to stop. Like if you have good technique on arm, like if you go to any jiu-jitsu gym in America, was that one today? So I saw like 3 arm bars during the open mat because they're like, I don't want to say they're easy to hit, but of a submission, it like you flow into it fairly easily if you know how to do it. Right. Yeah. That's why pro wrestling took so quickly, because like it's simple as a weird term because they're not like easy to do. There's a lot of like pressure and how you have to mount, how you have to take them and pressure the elbow. And like, there's a lot of technique involved in it, but it's something that is like common. It's very common in judo and jiu-jitsu and MMA. So it's not like it was crazy to see, but I mean, like, it's like pro wrestling. Well, I'm going to scout that arm bar and I'll be able to stop it. I mean, like if you get caught, you get caught.
Yeah. So, she's been gone for a long time. She did the pro wrestling thing. She, she decided she wanted to come back, but she needed the right opponent, somebody she could beat. That was a name. And Gina Carano is the actual first ever big name in women's MMA. She was she had the model good looks. The dad was a former quarterback in the NFL. And she was legitimately, like, for her time, like a really good fighter. A really good stand-up fighter, a Muay Thai fighter. She didn't really have a great ground game, but she was tough as hell and had some really big fights, really bloody fights. And then she ran into Cyborg 17 years ago, and Cyborg beat the fucking piss out of her. It was a brutal beatdown. And Gina said, "Fuck this! I'm too good looking. I'm gonna go to acting." And so she's been gone for 17 years. But she got excommunicated from Hollywood during COVID because of some controversial remarks about the World Health Organization being Nazis. I think is kind of where she went with that, making her wear a mask. She was not about that, so Disney fired her ass, and she ended up gaining 100 pounds. She was like 240, and she said 100 years ago she was 240 pounds, and she lost 100 pounds for this fight, which is insane. She looked incredible though for someone that was weighing well over 240.
She's 40 something, right? Gina Carano?
44. Yeah, 44.
She's like around our age. Credit to her, because she clearly wouldn't like when you lose everything. That's the thing about, I don't want to get in political right here, but like you have freedom of speech, but you don't have freedom of consequence. People like you can say things and people don't have to work with you. People could say, I don't want to work with this person. Ronda said some stupid stuff too, but the difference is Ronda was talented enough to get away from it. And Ronda would have said, that was pretty stupid of me. And some people will never accept that she tried to apologize for what he said. Because some people, like, if you have a bad intrusive thought and you stick with it, you are branded for life with that. You can't ever say, that was dumb of me. I shouldn't have said that. That was really gross. I hate that.
I don't want to get into the conspiracy she got caught into, because I don't even want to mention it because it's so stupid. But I have been caught up into some conspiracies myself. Not that one.
It's like one of your hobbies.
I know. Like, I thought the moon was hollow for like 3 days last year. I was like walking around like, this fucking thing's hollow. Like I could believe some dumb shit, but like they both got caught up in some shit. They said some dumb shit, but they're back, and I thought this was the perfect opponent for Ronda, because Gina was there to get Ronda a lot of money and not be a real threat to her, and sell a lot of tickets, which they did do, and make a lot of money off of Netflix, which they did do. And this was a huge fight. Lasted 17 seconds. The fight starts. They touch gloves. Ronda Rousey goes in, hits a double leg, that's not really a judo move, right? That's a wrestling move. That's
No,
not a
it's
judo, right?
so it is a judo move, but like it's been banned in judo for probably around 15, 16 years now. Double leg is a
Okay.
thing, especially the way she did it. So when she was learning judo, you could do double legs. But she also fought MMA, so she's not like she doesn't. It wasn't
Right.
it wasn't a great double leg, quite frankly. But
Yeah.
like if you have someone like if you're fighting someone who's a striker, the best way to beat them is to get to their legs. So
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense. And then she rolled right into the armbar.
Yeah. It got her in 17 seconds, which caused, oh, look, right on cue. We got somebody saying right on cue, which caused a lot of it was wrestling people that thought this. It was wrestling fans and wrestling personalities. I saw some that were out there, like some of the more famous ones. They think that it was all rigged. Jim Cornette, David Pinzer, a lot of people like that thought it was rigged. But the trip on Tang, people trying to claim the fight was rigged should have bet on Ronda to win in the first round. Look, this thing was not rigged. It was not like if they were going to rig it, they would have like Ronda would have carried her for a couple of rounds to make it more entertaining.
Like Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. That was rigged.
Yes. Or like Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, which went the distance when Jake Paul could have like put him out in the first round and went the distance. Like, like that's a work. This was not a work. This is Ronda just doing what Ronda does. She was like, if you think that this is rigged, you obviously never saw her fight before, because this would have happened 9-10 years ago if they would have fought whenever they're like a lot younger. Like Ronda did this to Muay Thai fighters. She doesn't fucking like to get hit in the face. So she goes in like a berserker, takes you down and breaks your arm, and there's nothing you can do about it.
But that's the thing though, is like people who say this, like they don't know anything about like actual fighting. Like they don't actually, like it's pro wrestling. And like, I know pro wrestler, like old school pro wrestlers really, they have this like Wattsian belief that they have to be the toughest guy in the bar. But like, the knowledge of fight game, that's the old place. The knowledge of fight game and fight culture is so much stronger now than it was 40 years ago. Like people know so much more about fighting, like just in general. Like, so I hear these and I'm like, this is what you would have done. And Gina Carano at her best was never near Ronda Rousey. Never. No. Like, what planet would you think this would have gone the distance ever? Like,
no,
it doesn't. Of course, Ronda won it in 10 seconds. That's what she always did. That's how Holly Holm beat her. She made her keep her distance. Holly Holm karate her base, but she has one of the best wrestling coaches in the world in Izzy Martinez, and she had Greg Jackson coaching her. Like they game planned for years to beat Ronda Rousey. Because Ronda got her hands on people and murdered them. That's what she did.
Yeah, and Amanda Nunes, like a legitimate jiu-jitsu player, like you're not gonna if you take her down, you're not gonna be as successful as you are against like a Muay Thai fighter. The problem with Amanda Nunes, also really good at Muay Thai. I guess also pretty good wrestler. Like she is just a more well-rounded fighter. Like the game evolved past Ronda, and she did not keep up with it, and she did not like getting knocked out. Like that was not good for her, which I don't blame her.
But the game evolved because of Ronda.
Yes.
They had to learn, because Ronda brought that judo element, and judo and jiu-jitsu are like sister sports, but there's a difference. The Brazilian form of jiu-jitsu is far more it drives a wrestler crazy. You go to a jiu-jitsu gym, if you want to go, they all drop to their knees and you roll from there. And it's like, what the hell? I can't get a takedown. That's the whole purpose of the Brazilian side of jiu-jitsu, is to just all ground game. Everything's from the guard position. That's how you counter these people. That's how you counter a striker. That's how you counter someone who's a judo player. Like the introduction of Brazilian jiu-jitsu was by Brazilian jiu-jitsu and wrestling. Like they have this weird ebb and flow together that you have to have a solid foundation in both to be successful in MMA and to have some striking. Like Bo Nickel's really the UFC had a lot of real big faith in Bo Nickel, and he has been a disaster there because he hasn't been able to up his game up. It's just, if you tell me that Ronda and Gina Carano was a work, you don't know anything about Ronda Rousey. You don't know anything about mixed martial arts fighting. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Yeah,
it's just a wrestling people, because they're carnies. They just assume that everything's a work, right? They see work. Yeah, this football's fake, everything is fake, and I get it. That's the world that they come from, but there was nothing fake about the fight. Look, this is not an MMA podcast. We're not going to sit here and run down the whole show, although I did watch I did watch the whole show because I was just fascinated by it. I do hope that MVP MMA does pick up because
Me too.
I think there's room in the space for a number 2 promotion that could you're not going to overtake the UFC. I think this UFC is part of our culture right now. So like that's hard. Like you're not going to overtake WWE. You're not going to overtake UFC. You don't have to. I think there's like enough room for a number 2 to actually make some money if they bring in the right people. They don't need to bring in Junior Dos Santos, who has butter for brains. You can't fucking punch that guy. He is one of the great fighters of all time, but like he's way too old and has been knocked out way too many times. But if you can find solid opponents for Francis and Ngannou, and if Gina Carano, I think Gina Carano should come back and actually fight somebody that's like more in line with her skill set versus a world beater that Ronda Rousey used to be. I have the perfect idea, right? Of who Gina Carano should fight.
Who's that?
Just bear with me.
I'm listening.
I host a TNA podcast, right? There's a lady in TNA who was in WWE for a while who had an MMA fighter gimmick. She would pull her hair up. She said, "Hair up, square up," and would walk around pretending to be an MMA fighter. And she did that gimmick for years, and then she just wasn't a very good pro wrestler, and now she's a general manager. But one Sonya Deville, I think, would be a perfect opponent for Gina Carano. She is a legitimately trained fighter. I just don't think she ever had any pro fights. And she actually does commentary on Invicta whenever Invicta fights, which they never do anything anymore. I'm putting it out there right now into the ether. Hey, StreamYard, clip this StreamYard. Gina Carano versus Sonya Deville, Daria Ray from TNA. That's the fight to make for Gina.
Sure. I mean, that's kind of in the line of what MVP booking is.
Yes.
Now we're the freak show MMA stuff. Fuck, why not? I mean,
it'll probably be Kat Zingano anyway if they do decide to let Gina fight.
Kat Zingano, another old school and women's MMA name. Whatever. I mean, I do think Gina Carano should fight again, mainly because her brand is kind of toxic right now as far as acting goes. So, Paramount might hire her. So,
there's room. Like you can't say certain things when you work for Disney. Although I thought she was good in Mandalorian. I liked her in that.
She was fine. She was better than Sasha was, or Renee, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we got some super chats. We got a lot of chats. Let's go ahead and get to it. This is probably one of a handful of times we've ever talked MMA on this show. So
yeah,
but I was excited to do so. Glassdoor Gamer, $2 says Bully Ray can't understand Mox promos. What a Dirk. Dirk Nowitzki, legendary basketball player for the Dallas Mavericks. But Bully Ray is a stupid fat asshole. If you can't understand Mox's promos, but I take everything that Bully Ray says on Busted Open with a grain of salt. He's just trying to gen up controversy to get attention for his radio show. So,
Bully Ray has a history of saying things that are obnoxious to get attention. It literally was his gimmick in ECW. He would get in the ring in ECW and call the crowd the F word. I mean the F word with the 6-letter, not the 4-letter F word.
Yeah.
And like get people all riled up that way. And he would drop racial stuff from time to time. Like he just, that's him. He ain't different. Like same guy.
Yep. Same guy. And then he goes on to say, I still follow MMA UFC. Dana White is completely checked out. I agree. I don't think Dana White cares whatsoever. I think he's just
he's like a figurehead now more than like a
he is. He doesn't even really make the fights anymore. And he like TKO does all the promotional stuff. He's just like he's just like Joe Silva was the guy that was the matchmaker. But
Joe Silva was the booker of when the glory days of UFC was all Joe Silva. Dana's just a figurehead all the time. Like that's why people like they got to fire Triple H. Like they didn't fire Dana. They look similar enough where they go, oh yeah, this is wrestling Dana. It's fine. Yeah.
It's like he doesn't care anymore. Seems to be a TKO thing. Look at Triple K. He is lazy. Yeah. A lot of laziness going on. These people think that they're freaking set.
They are financially.
Yeah. Let's get to some more chats here. Chad Schultz, good evening, sir, from Nebraska. Said, in a couple weeks, I have to go to Charlotte for training for a week. Any good sports bar recommendations, Mike? Mike doesn't go to bars. Been sober over 10 years, so not really my thing. But thank you, sir. But my buddy Pat also, he comes to Charlotte every once in a while. I live it takes me like an hour to get into Charlotte proper, so I don't really go to Charlotte a whole lot unless I'm working, and I have to go there 3 times a week. And I come home as soon as I possibly can, so I don't really stick around.
Give us a good place to eat in Charlotte. Like if one were to get something to eat, like if you're in Chicago, you got to try an Italian beef. If you're in Chicago, you got to have a Chicago salad. If I'm in Charlotte, what am I eating?
The best restaurant that I've been to in Charlotte is the Brazilian restaurant. Hold on, in Uptown. It's actually close to my office. Brazilian Steakhouse. Oh, I've already looked it up before. It is called Shima, Chima, Shima Steakhouse. It's in Uptown. Kind of fancy, a little bit pricey, but it's a Brazilian steakhouse. It's really good. But the restaurant that I told Pat to go to, because he wanted to go and watch, I think he wanted to watch UFC or something like that. And I told him, go to Twin Peaks in Fort Mill. And and he did do that. It's next to the Bass Pro Shop. So go ahead, go there, buddy. And so
when Hooters is sleazy enough, when Hooters is sleazy enough for you, there's Twin Peaks.
Yeah. So I did tell him to do that. XWF went to a Comic-Con on Friday, saw Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross. There you go. I hope Jerry Lawler's doing well. He had a stroke a couple years back, so
yeah.
Hope he's doing good. Let's see. All right, El Camino, for anyone that hasn't seen it, was a very good Breaking Bad sequel on Netflix. Oh, that is right. That was the movie El Camino. It was with Jesse Pinkman. They did a Jesse Pinkman movie.
Can I make a confession?
JD, hold the fuck on. If you tell me you have not seen Breaking Bad, we're ending the show right now, and we're not coming back until you've seen Breaking Bad, because it's the greatest goddamn TV show that's ever happened.
Never seen a single episode.
Jesus Christ, dude! It is such a good show.
I know, everyone says that. If the wife doesn't want to watch it, there's a decent chance I'm never going to see it.
Yeah, that's tough because you do have to share TV time. So I watched it before I was married, but it's on Netflix now, and it's I'm actually starting a rewatch of it. So just kind of like as I get time, I pop it on because it's kind of like comfort food for me, which is weird. Mm-hmm. But I watched all of Breaking Bad. I watched all of Better Call Saul. I loved all of it. It's just all of it's really good.
Over the last summer, we did a rewatch of Malcolm in the Middle, and I showed her the last a viral clip that went around where the very famous last episode of the show Newhart. Bob Newhart wakes up and he's actually in his previous show, and the whole show was a dream that the character from the previous show had. And they did that on Malcolm in the Middle, like that. They did a gag where Walter White, the character on Malcolm in the Middle wakes up and he dreamed that he was Walter White. So that was
so funny.
It was really hilarious. So like if you're a TV nut like I am, with a useless fucking fountain of knowledge, that was hilarious. So, and I think maybe I have to change it, and I have to actually go back and watch Breaking Bad. I'm sure John Muse is going to text me, "What the fuck?" as this show is over.
Yeah. I get the feeling that's going to pop up in the group chat because it legitimately is one of the greatest TV shows I've ever seen.
I believe you. I've never heard anyone say it is less than that. Ever.
It's for me, it's Sopranos and Breaking Bad. I also was a big fan of The Shield, but if you told me you didn't like The Shield, I would get it, right? I love The Shield, but like it is so over the top vulgar at times, and like a bit like some of the he's a terrible cop, right? Like Vic Mackey is a shitty cop, but he's also the baby face, so that can be tough for people to swallow, right? So I get like why maybe you wouldn't like that. Sons of Anarchy, I loved that show, but it's so unbelievably unrealistic. Like I couldn't understand why you didn't like that show, but fucking Breaking Bad, nobody that I've ever respected has ever said anything bad about it.
Never heard a bad thing about Breaking Bad. I really need to go back and watch it. I don't know. I'm not a motorcycle guy. So Sons of Anarchy had like a motorcycle gang. And I heard the first season was inspired by Hamlet. And I got interested for like 30 seconds. And I couldn't do it, man. I'm like, I have no interest in this.
Yeah. I like it, but it is like super corny. It's really corny. But I really enjoyed it. So Chad says we know JD is anti TNA, but Cedric versus Leon was a very good match that you should check out. It was a really good match. It's on YouTube. I think everybody should check that out. They did best 2 out of 3 falls. Oh, yeah. Okay. So JD, so TNA and TNA fashion, they did a TNA. So they're building up. No, actually, I didn't think so, but a lot of people thought so. So
right.
they've been building up Leon Slater to break Austin Aries' record for the
Oh, I
longest
saw
X Division
this. I
title reign.
saw this. Yeah.
Yeah,
They had him
yeah.
tie the record and then lose.
Yeah, he lost, but like immediately after, like the next day, Cedric the Alexander, that's what I call him on the show, Cedric the Alexander, he started selling a T-shirt called the Record Taker, and like that's his new gimmick, and I'm like, that's perfect. Like I personally did not have a problem with it. I was like, this guy's probably out the door before the year's over. You might as well, get some shine on somebody else. Cedric's staying around for a while. Like Cedric, I don't think is going anywhere. WWE, AEW, he's probably on a short-term deal, but they're probably just going to keep rolling that thing over. I think he's kind of like, this is where he's at. So I was fine with it.
Cedric's already done, or Slater's already done stuff with WWE, so I imagine he'll be NXT bound shortly.
Yeah, and they could use the help over there in NXT. Yeah. So yeah,
they did the I heard NXT. I heard a great, and this is my quote, but I heard NXT introduced a bunch of new people. I relate it to like at one time, I related to when we were little children and we went to watch the Transformers movie, and Act 1 of the Transformers movie was them systematically murdering the entire cast of the first 2 seasons of Transformers and replacing them with all new characters, and we're all like, what the fuck? So I heard that recent NXT has been like that. They're just bumping out new people.
Yeah, to me, that's what happened when Tony bought Ring of Honor. Like that first show, it was just all the old Ring of Honor people losing to the Ring of Honor people that Tony had signed, and like all the titles got switched over. And
that did happen. That did happen.
Yeah, let's see. The moon is made of cheese. That was like. Have you seen the Harry Carey skit with Will Ferrell?
Yes, of course I have.
Yeah, from Chicago. Yeah, great. Yeah. Oh, true. Oh, speaking of which, on TNA they had Skip Carey, Harry Carey's grandson. Yeah, he's the voice of the Oakland A's of Sacramento, because they were in Sacramento. He was there on the show. So
as long as we're Harry Carey being mentioned, Harry Carey was famous announcer for both the Chicago Cubs and the Chicago White Sox. My Chicago White Sox are over 500 for the first time since 2022, and they just beat the Cubs in the Crosstown Series week. Bottom of the 10th, walk-off home run.
Nice.
Awesome baseball. Best 2 out of 3 games. Like, baseball in Chicago is actually really good right now.
Yeah. My Dodgers, they're on a little bit of a streak. They were getting their asses kicked for a while, but they're back in first place, and Ohtani might win the Cy Young this year. Probably not going to win a hitting crown, though, because he's not going to win any batting titles or records for home runs because he's not hitting very well, but he's pitching like a motherfucker. So
that's still amazing. That's still amazing. Meanwhile, in the American League, Munetake Murakami is having a fantastic rookie year with the White Sox, one of the American League leaders in home runs right now. The White Sox are the only team in baseball with 3 hitters with more than 10 home runs so far this year. So the White Sox are back to what they were when I was a kid, a team that either hits home runs or strikes out. There is no in between.
Yeah. Frank Thomas was one of my favorite hitters of all time, because he would just crush the hell out of a baseball. But when he was not doing that, Frank Thomas is not trying to squeak one past the third baseman, right? Or he's not going to bunt, or he's not going to do any of that. He's trying to hit it as hard as he fucking can. But those old White Sox teams were fun to watch with Frank Thomas, and then Ruben Sierra went there and got Albert Bell. He left the Indians and went to the White Sox. Yeah, that was
my favorite lineup with the White Sox was when it was Tim Raines, Frank Thomas, and Bo Jackson.
Yeah,
the team that would have won the World Series. I'm convinced of this before the 1994 strike happened. I will say this to my dying day. They were the best team in baseball.
Yeah, although I did watch a Netflix documentary that made the case that the Expos were going to take it that year. But I guess every team was probably thinking that they were going to take it that year. If it wasn't just for that pesky lockout, they would have taken it.
The fact the players didn't want to play anymore. They were like, no, we're done with it.
Yeah, let's see it. JWick 513 said, did they sell a lot of tickets? The place looked empty. So that Crypto.com arena always looks empty because there's lights on the seats. So you can't really see the fans because there's lights beaming from the seats, but there's 15,000 people there.
Yeah, that's so stupid. That's such a bad way. It's the most unappealing arena as far as a design perspective, because they light up the seats, and when you have light, it creates depth, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like there's far more spacing there than there actually is. Yeah, they had 15,000 people there, and it looked like it was empty. It was a terribly shot. Terrible.
Yeah, WWE just recently went through that too when they were in Saudi or Riyadh last year because they had a similar setup in one of their arenas. It looked empty, but no, it was actually full, but you just couldn't tell because of
One
the
of the
stupid lights.
Have you noticed, speaking of lighting on crowds, have you noticed one of the main differences between like the Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn era and the Lee Fitting Triple H era? It's how they really don't light the crowd like at all. Like
Yeah.
like they'll have these packed arenas and they look like they're playing into the ether. It's so
Yeah.
bizarre how he still lights it like Triple H still lights it like he did old like black and gold era NXT. I just find that crazy.
Let's see. Apparently, missed Tommy Lee cocaine spot. Oh, it was pretty prevalent, and it's all over Twitter right now. Where they caught Tommy Lee doing a line, which it's Tommy Lee.
I'm shocked.
He's the fucking drummer for Motley Crue. Like, why? Like, what else is this supposed to be doing?
Like,
right?
That's like I heard Keith Richards does drugs too. Like,
yeah,
like, I mean,
yeah. All right, let's see. He does on Lola Vice would be better for Gina Carano. Yeah, probably. Lola Vice actually fought for Bellator for a little bit. Yeah.
I think I knew that.
Yeah. Let's see. Frank Thomas, the face of male testosterone with Doug Flutie.
That is true. People like accuse Frank Thomas of doing steroids, and I'm like, I want you to look at this man now. Like, he's still a gigantic human being. He's been retired for damn near 20 years.
There's just some people out there that just ain't like the rest of us, and that's Frank Thomas. He is just
him and Bo Jackson.
Just genetic freaks, right? Like, just born different than the rest of us, and there's not a goddamn thing we could do about it.
They asked Ozzie Guillen once, former manager, former player, Chicago White Sox, if Frank Thomas was on steroids, and Ozzie's answer is, "Have you seen his mother?" Meaning Frank Thomas's mother was enormous. So I mean, like,
just a big lady.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get into the next topic. So it's titled WWE Pushes the AEW TV Deal Agenda. So this was a story that was going around last week, and we didn't cover it, and we didn't cover it on purpose because we just didn't really want to get into it. There's the rumor that's going around that WBD let AEW know that they were not going to be getting picked up by Paramount, but we don't even know if Paramount was like, if that deal's even going to go through. So we just didn't feel like it was worth us even talking about.
No, because the Paramount people aren't running WBD currently. So the idea that they've already been told that it came from a guy who we have on this show decided not to talk about, but this guy started spreading rumors that this is the thing. Like, the timeline doesn't make sense. Now, that being said, let's speak some reality in this. Paramount, current owners of CBS, did cancel the Stephen Colbert Show, which is the highest rated show on late night television. Yeah. They did it for political reasons to make the Trump administration happy. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that's the truth. Donald Trump doesn't have it out for AEW.
No. The Stephen Colbert thing was, I think that was more of a promise because like the Trump administration had to approve that the Skydance Paramount deal to go through. And so they did do that, and their news organization has become more right wing. 60 Minutes just had Benjamin Netanyahu saying whatever the hell he wanted like on there recently. So we're not going to get into all the political stuff. So, their
ratings are in the toilet too, by the way, for CBS, just for the record.
Yeah.
But anyway,
could they, like, for no reason other than they don't like AEW, not pick them up? Of course. Is it possible that AEW doesn't get picked up by Paramount? Of course. Yeah. We are so far away from that ever even becoming a topic that we just didn't want to talk about it. But it's in the Observer this week. And now it's becoming a story because there's people in the WWE are kind of like talking about it. And that here it is from Dave. I'll just pull it straight from the Observer. Said what will end up being the most important news story of 2027 is what happens to AEW when the current deal expires at the end of that year. 2027, right? So we're not even in that ballpark yet. This is still 2026. We're
May of 2026.
May of 2026. We're not even at the halfway point. Okay. There's been a lot of talk regarding the idea that Paramount Skydance won't want the property, although it's the second highest rated regular weekly show on TBS and is so much more cost effective than UFC. Plus, the company would get a piece of its pay-per-view revenue and have a small ownership stake. We've heard from people in the WWE, one of whom said that they realize that the decision hasn't been made, and basically the same stuff we said that everyone following this seems to agree on, that nobody even knows that the merger is going through, nor will even be making decisions regarding AEW if and when it does. He goes on to like promote their numbers, but says, talking about like how good the numbers are in certain areas, but the new Nielsen ratings that are out, that I have decided to quit covering myself because it's fake numbers. Like they're just not real.
And they keep changing how they value them. That's why the numbers go crazy, because week by week, like not week by month, Nielsen keeps like tweaking how they do it. Like it's not, these numbers are not comparable to numbers from 2019. It's just, one, the number of houses is down. Two, how they measure them is literally changing like constantly. So it's like, you can't, people like us who aren't in the television business can't really evaluate what this means anymore.
Yeah. And so that's why like I made it clear on Twitter, and I quit like writing my ratings articles for TNA. And it's not because the numbers are down, it's because like nobody believes them. Like Dave even went on the show like last week. I think TNA had their lowest and it was like 168 or something like that. It was 160 some odd thousand viewers in the same number of households, meaning that there was only one person in every household that had that show on that was watching, which is absolutely fucking impossible. like it's just not like, that's just never happened. So I just decided I'm not going to cover them, but the numbers are what they are. Okay. So let's see, even if we go with the idea that AEW for regular show can do similar numbers as UFC and maybe half UFC on pay-per-view, Paramount Skydance can have that for probably 1/4 of the UFC costs in a new deal, and everyone would be happy, one would think. But the other side of the equation is maybe the losses and long-term deal with having UFC will keep them from wanting to spend even that kind of money. I think that's the kicker right there. When their own financial shape is so heavily leveraged. Tony Khan has talked about being super happy. That is true. The Paramount Skydance, I had that early. Paramount Skydance got it, and if they do go with the company, it does open up for more exposure, since the new combined streaming service would add more homes for AEW's television as well as AEW's pay-per-view shows. So he goes on to say, anyway, my thought is that anyone at this stage of the game giving any kind of definite answer to all this is likely full of it. But that hasn't and won't stop speculation. Then again, AEW being doomed after this rights deal expires has had the same speculation for 6 years. We've done this dance. But another person in WWE noted to us this week that they have definitely spread the word in the company, and that's why I wanted to talk about this. This is the actual story. Another person in WWE noted to us this week that they have definitely spread the word in the company among some, if not many, that AEW won't be on Paramount Skydance, and question if they can get a viable deal elsewhere. So that's the story. WWE is spreading that within their company. JD, why would WWE spread that within their company?
Well, gosh, Mike, it's almost like they don't want to deal with a company that will pay for talent more money.
Bingo.
Like, of course they're saying that. It's well within Triple K, which I'm gonna go with that one. I like that one now. It's well within Triple K's plan, like his MO, to sow seeds of doubt, to make people think this is the only place you're gonna get a great deal from. And I want you to look strategically at the people that got released last time. Right? Those are people that are not going to get picked up by AEW. We talked about that. They're not bringing Aleister Black in. They're not going to bring in Thea Trinidad. They're not going to do that. They're doing that on purpose. So they could sit there and go, look, not getting picked up. You're going to want to stay with us and stay in our good graces. They know there's no proof to that, but they're trying to work their own people right now to keep them happy, because there is discontent within WWE because they're asking people to take pay cuts.
Yeah, and that's another thing. They're asking people to take 50% pay cuts, and then they'll be like, here's the conversation that they're having. I don't know this for a fact. I just know it's true.
No, there's no reason. We don't have to hear it. People in WWE are saying it. That's why. Why. Because AEW is a viable contender and has been for the last 6 years, if not on number by number. Again, which is fine. You don't have to do the same numbers. It will literally take AEW a generation until they could possibly get compared numbers, because they have to rear up their own fans, just like WWE had to. They have to raise their own fans. And it's a much harder environment than it is to do that now in the 80s and 90s. That being said, you want to make sure your talent are starving.
Yeah.
That's what they want to do. They don't want to tell them, hey, you can go get paid more over there. They're going to, and tell you right now, the New Day will get picked up.
Yes.
The New Day
and he is on mid. Yeah, New Day. I think New Day and Motor City Machine Guns, and that's probably it.
That's
right.
probably it.
And so New Day is one of the talents that they were asked to take a pay cut, and they said no. A lot of other talents took pay cuts. Why? And the answer was because either AEW won't want you, or you shouldn't go to AEW because they're not going to be around in a couple of years because they're not going to have a viable TV deal, or they're going to be making bigger cuts than we are.
They have to say that because Woods Austin Creed, we're gonna call him, and Kofi both said, "Cut our pay. We'll go across the street and get paid more money." And they have to stop people in their own company from saying that. They have to keep them. This is what WWE does so well: is they manipulate the workers, right? They're working the workers. So many of these people, they go, oh, you want to have your WrestleMania moment. Your career truly doesn't matter unless you have a WrestleMania moment. Then you got a geek like CM Punk who employs very questionable people around him. We'll leave it at that. To validate that your career is nothing unless you headline WrestleMania. So they have to quell this. You have to quell this within, or else you lose leverage. That's what this is all about. Anybody who's foolish enough 6 years in to tell me that WWE doesn't concern themselves with AEW is foolish. And Tony Khan, to his benefit, 5 years ago, he would have been shit talking this. And now he said, maybe I've handled that wrong in the past.
Yeah. I like the new Tony that's not taking the bait. I like that because I think that when he did before, he's not good at the shit talk. He's not good at the shit talking war. Like that's not like his strong suit, and turning the other cheek, I think is probably better for him. And I think that makes them like, you never have to give up the moral high ground if you don't want to. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's a really difficult thing to keep the moral high ground. It really is. Sometimes you just want to get into the mud, especially when they're playing dirty tricks, like telling their people that your company is going under and all this and that. That's a dirty trick, trying to keep a talent away from you. Not that AEW needs more talent, by the way. They have fucking way too many people.
Too much as it is. That being said, it's like they can keep signing talent because they're legitimate billionaires, and they're making enough money that they're fine. They're not losing money. Like WCW could have gone on in its 1995, 1996 incarnation and been fine. The problem was 1999 WCW was spending a ridiculous amount of money, because Eric Bischoff is stupid. So I should say Eric Bischoff is savvy. Like he knows how to talk. He knows how to smarm. He does not know how to spend money.
Right. Well, he didn't keep the overhead low, and that was the point.
Well, the man himself has had a couple bankruptcies, so I will stick by what I said. And the man doesn't spend money. That's a public record, by the way. He can't sue me for saying that.
No, he goes for it for sure. Like he definitely goes for it. Consequences be damned, and that's bit him in the ass. Mm-hmm. So with Khan, and I think Dave and I don't know if it was Dave or Garrett. They made the point over the weekend. I was listening to it while I was digging a hole for my trash cans. I was listening to Wrestling Observer Radio. They made the point that if AEW felt that they were in danger of losing their TV deal, would they still be signing all these people? And when they still have all these people under contract, no, they would be making roster cuts like anybody else. Like, they can have this big bloated ass roster, which I don't think they should, but they do, because they don't have shareholders to answer to. Mm-hmm. So a lot of what they're doing is like, they got a lot of talent on the roster that don't exactly work. Call it business, call it charity, whatever you want to call it, but that's what they got. And I'm not mad at people for getting paid. Get that paper, but doesn't seem too smart from AEW's part to keep all these people under these deals. But
why
they can always
you say it's not smart, but what does that mean?
It just means you're to have a bunch of people on your roster that you're not using is not fiscally responsible. Now they can afford it, so it's not a big deal. So it's not hurting them. But if they did take in less money, the first thing that's going to go are those people that aren't being used. You know what I mean? They're going to go away.
I'm going to challenge this notion here because it's very American.
You legitimately cannot challenge that keeping your overhead low is a good idea.
No, I could challenge you. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Money isn't
real.
Yeah. Money isn't real.
True.
People like, where's Paramount going to get this money? They don't matter. It doesn't matter. The Skydance thing is going to last until they go, okay, it's time to get rid of it. And then they're going to pawn it off onto somebody else. These billions of dollars aren't getting paid back. You can't pay back billions of dollars. It's not
Right.
real. It's fictitious. Like
True.
we are in post money. Like money is fiction. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter to these ultra elite wealthy people. Like and realistically, if you make $1, and you can keep things running and you enjoy doing it, is it a hobby at that point? Not technically, according to Uncle Sam, because you're making a profit, technically.
Yeah.
So it doesn't,
Well,
you can talk about fiscal responsibility, and fiscal responsibility only matters to smaller companies. There is no fiscal responsibility to big companies. Right? Like massive companies can lose money out the wazoo and the government just bails them right out.
Well, they get, but that's not going to happen in AEW.
No, they don't need to. They're owned by a billionaire. And no matter how much money, they will never spend billions.
No.
Like it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter. Like if they were a publicly traded company, absolutely, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
But they have no one to answer to other than Tony Khan.
Right. But any business, like I would say, like if you have a bunch of people you're not using, you probably don't need those people. It's okay.
I don't argue that.
Right. Like that's like
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
But not because
anybody
of financial responsibility, because financial responsibility isn't a real thing when you're financially irresponsible. Like there's no responsibility only matters if there's some type of comeuppance. And right now there is no type of comeuppance because
there isn't. There isn't, but if they did lose the TV deal, that would show up, right? If they weren't able to secure another one,
for sure.
Or if they go the way of WCW, which WCW was not getting like an enormous like rights fee, and so it was a different business model back then, right? Everything is just TV money for AEW, so as long as that TV money is coming in, they're fine. But let's just say that they didn't have all that money coming in, like these contracts that they have, these long-term contracts that they are being forced to pay out, not forced, but that they would have to pay out, it's going to end up biting them. But like, again, we're not there and we're not even close to being there. I think they're going to be fine.
And I don't think biting is the right term. Like I said, even with WCW, even with the massive amounts of money that they lost, if Ted Turner was around, they probably would have gotten rid of him. They probably would have said, hey, make some cuts. Which they did at various points in their career, right? That's why Bill Watts came in. Bill Watts came in to shore up the finances, and because Kip Fry was spending a lot of money. Like, and I guess that's the thing, though, is like when you're not a publicly traded company, and it literally is like, and let's be honest, and I like AEW, but it's Tony's like pet project. Your pet project can be functional as long as people need auto parts. Like AEW is going to be like decent.
So. The dad sells what, brake pads? What does he sell? What does he
brake
do?
pads is that's Callahan. I believe it's bumpers.
Tommy boy.
Bumpers.
yeah, Tommy Callahan Auto Parts. What was it?
Callahan. No, you read right. You read right.
Okay, I had it right. Okay, yeah. That's funny.
The new brake pad division was going to change everything. If I'm not.
Big Show just resigned. What's that guy even do?
I think he's got an office job, to be honest with you. I legit think he works like for in the office of AEW doing what? I have no fucking clue, but I believe he actually does have an office job.
I think he does, and I think he just did like a promotional tour of the UK or something like that. So probably not much, but I don't think that guy is a millionaire, like making millions of dollars a year. Like he's just like he's just the guy that they keep around.
And he's the guy that now here's the thing too, is I think in pro wrestling we have too many people that when they're put to pasture, that's like, go fuck yourself. You don't get any money. Now you die. Like it just I kind of like that Tony Khan has Big Show and like Sting and these guys like they take care of him a little bit, you know?
Yeah. I'm not, like I said, I'm not hating it. Not hating it whatsoever. I just say if all this stuff goes south, which I don't think it is, who else made the point? Somebody else made the point about Amazon. It was Chad. So if they don't re-up with WBD, well, I can see them Amazon signing them. I think that's a viable option. Yeah.
That's good. AEW's had a relationship with Amazon for quite some time. Their pay-per-views are available through Amazon Prime. Amazon offered them a spot in 2019. The television landscape is much different in 2027 than it's in 2019. Like, realistically speaking, if AEW is canceled by Paramount, which is possible, no one's saying it's not possible.
Yeah.
And they were to get picked up by Amazon Prime, they would be in more homes currently. Yeah, because more people have Amazon Prime than they do what's that called? HBO Max or Paramount Network, right? That's a big ass. That would be failing upward, almost like WWE does when they got canceled by Fox.
Yeah. Let's see. I got a TNA question here. What's good, Mike and JD? What happens for Steve Macklin joins Deonna Purrazzo in Ring of Honor, or Deonna Purrazzo comes back to TNA and joins Steve? I think either one of those is like a likely situation. Like I don't think Deonna Purrazzo is gonna last forever over there, and I don't think Steve is gonna last forever in TNA. So I can see either one of them joining either company.
It's definitely possible.
Yeah, let's send it home. We got a couple minutes left. Let's talk about Beyond the Mat. Barry Blaustein, director of Beyond the Mat, just recently died. He was 71. He had Parkinson's disease. That movie was a big part of my teenage childhood. It came out in 99, I want to say 99. Yeah, 99. It was the first kind of behind the scenes documentary that I've ever seen. I watched it so many times. I wore the freaking tape out, or the DVD out. It still holds up as probably one of the best documentaries on pro wrestling that I've ever seen. I absolutely love it. And it was just really, really good, man. But yeah, he died 71 years old.
I think also, more importantly, the writer of Coming to America, probably the greatest comedy film ever written. I think I saw Wrestling with Shadows first, and I think Wrestling with Shadows is better. But what I love about it, again, this is a guy, when I was studying documentary filmmaking in college, and this came out when I was a sophomore in college. So I watched Beyond the Mat religiously, and I wanted to do a amateur wrestling documentary growing up, and I wanted to frame it. What I loved about Behind the Mat or Beyond the Mat was its framing, where you had the star at his peak with Mick Foley, and you had the star who was kind of on the way down with Terry Funk, and you had the guy only because of age, right? And Terry has done everything, and then you had Jake Roberts, the guy you would hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
Pardon the pun. So I mean, I love the parallel storytelling that was done in Beyond the Mat. And he worked on that thing for years, and it's such an amazing piece of filmmaking, right? It is the most. It was probably one of the most brutal, dirty looks at what pro wrestling was in the mid to late 1990s.
It was the first time in my life that I saw wrestling as being sleazy, because I'm just a teenager, and all I'd ever seen was only ever at that point I'd seen WWF, WCW, ECW. ECW was a bit sleazy, but I never saw the backstage part of it. I never saw the fat old wrestler doing heroin in a hotel room. I never saw that part of it. Yeah. Right. Or the visual of Greg the Hammer Valentine pissing into a bucket backstage. I had never. Yeah.
A star of our youth, Greg the Hammer Valentine. He was a household name pissing.
And this was and a couple years before that, he's in WCW. Not top of the card, but he's still around.
Job. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Coco wears in that too. And you just see him they just look so pathetic on those.
They did. Shows. Right. And they were those guys were my heroes, right? So I'd seen them. But the thing about it is, and maybe it's because I'm a really bad person, I actually loved pro wrestling more after that. There was just something about it that I loved. I was I actually became a bigger fan of it, especially getting to know New Jack in that. I was I just became such a much bigger fan of New Jack. And, I was reminiscing with my buddies about New Jack because Mustafa Saeed was on TNA. And I was man, would have been much better if we had New Jack than Mustafa, but I guess he's the only gangster that's alive. So, but I was just reminiscing about him, and shortly after that, I heard that Barry Blaustein had died. So, just super sad. What a great fucking movie that was.
It was. He was such a talent. I know some of the people that were involved in that felt bad afterwards because he shines a very unsavory light. Unlike Wrestling with Shadows, which is very much Brett's story. And it's very much Brett showing us behind the scenes of Brett. This is a movie that it sought to expose pro wrestling, right? And in an era of Jerry Springer and where everything was kind of seedy and gross to begin with, the late 90s or 2000s are really kind of a gross time in American pop culture. This movie, I don't think we get Darren Aronofsky's The Wrestler without Beyond the Mat. Because again, Beyond the Mat kind of sets, it's almost like Darren Aronofsky saw, and I can't confirm that this happened, but it's he saw Beyond the Mat and started constructing the Randy the Ram story, because it's very much Jake Roberts, right?
Yep.
And that's a seedy movie too. And pro wrestling was never shown. It was always been shown in pop culture as being silly.
Yeah.
Right. But it never came up like seedy, because wrestling is totally seedy. We know that it's a scuzzy business, always has been. And and that really permeates in that documentary.
Yeah. And at that point I had never heard about the Donahue stuff and like the child, like I didn't know anything about that, which they did cover in Beyond the Mat, but it was the first time where I was like, this business is for just different people. Like just kind of, it's kind of a gross and a scuzzy business, but for whatever reason I'm just fascinated by it, but Wrestling with Shadows the same way. It was like scuzzy in a different way. Like the promoter, they got him on tape fucking the guy over. It was like just really, really bad. But I had never, up until that point, I had never seen pro wrestlers like admit that all the shit was fake too.
Man, I love Jake Roberts growing up, because who didn't love Jake? Who our age didn't love Jake the Snake Roberts?
Yeah.
And then to see what he had become, and this was, again, we all kind of got worked by Jake's like revival gimmick of the mid 1990s, and this is post that, and you're just like, But what's nice about that though is Diamond Dallas Page, I think very consciously did his Resurrection of Jake the Snake DVD, which actually serves as a nice bookend to Beyond the Mat, which it kind of shows, okay, you can kind of pull yourself up when you've been like Beyond the Mat really kind of represents Jake at his lowest. And then I really like watching the second one after that, because then you can kind of see him rebuild himself. And now Jake seems to be okay. He's an old man. He doesn't seem to be, he seems to have like at least quelled his demons. I don't know about beating his demons.
Do you follow?
I don't.
Do you follow Jake on Facebook?
I didn't know. I don't follow any pro wrestling stuff on Facebook. Actually.
Follow Jake, because him and Cheryl Roberts have reunited and they're
I
back
knew that.
together. And they post all the time, and it's kind of a fun story.
I think that's a nice little like I don't know. I'm a sucker for a true love story, and the fact that Cheryl Roberts of all people could find it in herself to find love with her ex-husband again is a nice little, like, maybe people aren't irredeemable. Like I don't know, man. I'm a firm believer that people can change and become better. And that's just like, I don't know. I think it's a nice little, I hope it's real. I hope it's not a work. I hope I'm probably being worked again, but
yeah. Wouldn't be the first time that you're work. So, okay, let's go top 5 wrestling documentaries.
Oh, okay.
Okay. What's your top 5, and where does Beyond the Mat rank?
Okay, you just threw this at me, so let me
totally did.
Let me think about this a little bit. My number 1 would probably be Wrestling with Shadows.
Okay,
I think it's the better movie. It's got a better narrative story. And I just like Brett. I'm a Brett guy, so like always, Wrestling with Shadows number 1. Number 2 is definitely Beyond the Mat. Beyond the Mat, definitely number 2. I want to say probably the Resurrection of Jake Roberts, number 3. And I'm not including any of the Vince stuff, like, because that's the one that Diamond Dallas Page made. Yeah, the one that exactly the one Diamond.
Yeah, the DDP version.
I'm trying to think of like anything else I like. So I really liked the one on UPW that was done in the early 2000s, where you see young Samoa Joe and young John Cena. It was
I haven't seen that one.
It was a TLC like mini documentary. I quite liked that. It was the first time I saw the prototype John Cena. So I actually knew who he was when he showed up in Chicago for the first time when he debuted in WWE. That's my number 4. Number 5, I'm struggling to think of number 5 because I don't want to include anything that WWE was done. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have one that WWE did in mind. And also, you got to understand my perspective. I was not a documentary filmmaker.
Sure, I'm a snob. Go for it.
Yeah, JD definitely a snob, and me like I don't mind wrestlers lying to me. So like it doesn't really bother me that they lie on these documentaries. Does Dark Side of the Ring count? I think it.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. I thought that more as a TV show, but yeah, of course.
TV, yeah, but there's probably episodes that would count as a singular documentary.
Probably the Brody one. Okay. That'd be my 5th one.
Well, the Brody one I'm going to have in mind, but not the Dark Side version, but the High Spots version. I like that.
Oh, one. The High Spots one's really good, actually. You're right about that.
Yeah. So number 5, I'm wearing my Bruiser Brody shirt. Would be the Bruiser Brody. Number 4. Kids, take notes. The Rise and Fall of ECW, the WWE version. I loved that damn thing. I watched it so many times. It's so good.
It's one of their best ones. I agree with that.
Yeah, it really is. Number three on the list, Memphis Heat.
Oh, that's
Memphis
a good
Heat
too.
High Spots. I love that one.
I like it. It just kind of ends. Like there's no like,
Yeah.
the one thing I don't like about Memphis Heat, there's no like story. It's just like a collection of interviews. There's no like narrative story that goes through.
But
that's my
beef with all that. Of all the documentaries I ever watched, I think that's the one that I learned from the most because I just didn't know much about the territory.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just fascinated by it with like, Jerry Lawler and Jackie Fargo and all the monster stuff that they were doing and like how many different people kind of came through there and like they cut their teeth in Memphis. So I really enjoyed that. And then I'm going to go Wrestling with Shadows and then Beyond the Mat would be my number one. I preferred Beyond the Mat to Wrestling with Shadows, but like barely. So, the some other ones like I thought the Von Erich ones in Dark Side of the Ring, I really enjoyed, but I heard that the A&E version that just came out is actually better.
The A&E stuff is so connected with WWE that I tend to avoid all of it because I find that the WWE stuff is more worky than wrestling. Like
true, but Dave just gave it a rave review in the Observer.
Oh, okay.
So
well,
he did, and he lived the story. So he said it's probably the best. And so, and I watched the High Spots one. I really liked that one. I just liked the Dark Side of the Ring one.
I like the production. Version. I like the production on Dark Side of the Ring.
Ooh.
What I think Dark Side of the Ring does better than most is like they film stuff. It's not just interviews in Dark Side of the Ring. Like I like the silhouetted ring stuff that they do.
Yeah.
Like I think it does a very good job setting the mood for what I like. It's seedy in itself, but I think they do some good work on those.
Here's a good recommendation: The Unreal Story of Pro Wrestling. That was an A&E doc. I loved that one.
Yeah, that was. It's very much a very simplistic early story of pro wrestling. My favorite parts of that are the pre-Vince stuff.
Yeah,
like that's where I first learned about like the Gold Dust Trio, and they start talking about Hackenschmidt and all that. God, I got to do that. Yeah, that's a good one actually. Steve Allen is the narrator on that one. It's fun. I like that one.
Yeah, I did like that one, and because that one, I thought that one was pretty successful for A&E because I think that one was out before Beyond the Mat and before Wrestling with Shadows. I think that one was like the first like real documentary where WCW and WWF were both involved, and they were kind of behind the scenes spilling the beans on what's happening, which did not happen much, but it was in 1997 it came out. So
I want to say 97, so a good year, a good 2 years before both Beyond the Mat and Wrestling with Shadows.
But that one being so good, and I wonder if it still holds up. I haven't seen it for probably 20 years, but that one being so good always made me think that Ken Burns could tackle that.
Bro, I was literally about to say that sentence. I was literally about to say the exact same thing. That is one of my dreams. I don't think Ken Burns has the interest in professional wrestling.
No,
but I would love to see Ken Burns do a baseball, because you got to see the Ken Burns documentaries. Baseball is like the greatest documentary series of all time. Like it is absolutely incredible. The history of baseball from Ken Burns. His Civil War, really good too. But
Civil War is my favorite. Actually, I really like the Civil War doc.
They're like the same. It's like the same exact movie, but one subject is Civil War, one is baseball.
Yeah, well, baseball picks up right after where the Civil War ends.
Like, it's kind of like a sequel.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, it really is.
It really is.
So I think that, Ken, he tackled country music. I think he tackled that subject, and I thought he did great with it. And because I was not a country music fan, but I watched that and I was like, oh shit, let me listen to some fucking Conway Twitty, boys. Let's crank it up, Let's listen to the Hag.
I think he did rock and roll too.
No, he didn't do rock and roll. He did jazz. He did country music. He hasn't done a rock and roll one yet.
Someone did a rock and roll one in the 90s. I don't know. Maybe I gotta look back and see who did that.
I think that you could tackle the way that Ken does his documentaries. You could tackle it as like you're telling the story of America through the lens of pro wrestling, which pro wrestling has always got their pulse on what's happening in the culture, right? And even if you go back to like the turn of the century and you go back like to World War II, where like you got fucking wrestling Nazis, right? And then like the creation of pro wrestling in Japan, like you got like we just bombed those fuckers, and the next thing you know, we're going over there as heels in their country, making Ricky Dozan like the biggest star in the world. You know, it's crazy.
It even goes back deeper. You can go Hackenschmidt and Gosh and talk about how amateur wrestling in the U.S. and pro wrestling in the U.S. were both launched on the success of that trilogy of matches with George Hackenschmidt and Frank Gotch. Like, there's so much there, man. That is like my dream project to see. I wanted to do it back when I was a documentary filmmaker, but I'm retired. And like now the problem now is you have to work with WWE, and there's so about how they do things that I feel like you would not be able to get around their propaganda. But I mean, imagine like, I would love for people to be educated to why am I blanking on his name? The Greek
Jim Londos. Thank you. God. It's getting late here. One of the most famous pro wrestlers of all time. But the argument, like whenever people argue that Hulk Hogan is like the most famous and most important of all time, it's like, okay, well, in this country he's one of. Jim Londos was quite a bit bigger in his era, and like nobody's ever heard of Jim Londos. It was because he was in the 1930s. You dummy.
And then Gorgeous George did it in the 50s. You know, like it just we've had, and Frank Gotch and George Hackenschmidt sold out massive baseball stadiums in their era. Like pro wrestling has been successful for a long time. Like Lou Thez and Stretcher Lewis and like all these guys. Like there's such an amazing story that. For some reason, like, I don't know why. It's because Vince, we've had to glad handle Vince McMahon. We pretend like pro wrestling wasn't really a thing until 1984, which is so stupid. There was such a amazing story before.
Yeah, even in the New York territory, they did big wrestling. Like they sold out Shea Stadium
multiple times,
just a couple years before 1984.
They sold out Madison Square Garden on a monthly fucking basis for decades. Right. And then you got a dick fuck like Triple K going out there saying wrestling was this thing that just happened in bars and little armories. And I'm like, no, that's when you started with the company and Vince was in high school running Raw. Like it's
so funny because
bullshit.
I like to on the WWE vault, they show like, you know, old stuff from like the 70s and 80s, and it's like they got like sold out Superdome shows on that YouTube channel now, like before right before that's happening, or like the Texas Stadium shows like for World Class, or because like sold out the Omni, sold out the Greensboro Coliseum with 20,000 people.
Because they're not trying to pitch that stuff to guys like us that know better. They're trying to pitch it to dumbasses that don't know anything. And then you have a dickhead like Bill Simmons who's perfectly willing to parrot their propaganda. Who knows better? Or like Ariel Helwani, like all these guys just play ball and bark like seals for them just to get there. It's so bizarre. I'll never understand that.
Yeah, I won't either, man. But hey, we went a little overtime. We should do an overtime. Maybe I should find Unreal Story of Pro Wrestling and we can review it on overtime. That'd be fun.
I believe it's on YouTube.
Yeah, let me see if I could find that. We'll try to figure something out. You know what else just dropped today on the WCW vault? It was Wrestle War 1992.
Oh, I have that. I have that on VHS. I love that show.
Yeah, that's a great show. So we'll come up with something for overtime. But we're over. We went over our allotted minutes. Uncle Mike has to go to sleep. I got to go to Charlotte in the morning. It's a rare Monday in Uptown for me, but I will be there.
Last week of school for the teacher.
There you go.
Cool. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right, man. All right. That's going to do it for us this week on the Mike and JD Show. And until next time, mahalo.
Competition starting to get thick. It's the click, so I hope you work your A game. A made no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This isn't A game. Better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick. It's the click, so I hope you work your A game.
That was very much a joke.
Hi, I'm Case Lowe, co-host of the Open the Voice Gate podcast. The one question I'm constantly asked when it comes to Dragon Gate is how do I get into the promotion? Well, stop asking and start listening to the Open the Voice Gate podcast, released every Wednesday on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. For exclusive news and show reviews, look no further than the leader in Dragon Gate coverage, Open the Voice Gate.